Andrew said, at least you will still have a roof over your head no matter how much of a worthless screw up you are due to your family's wealth. Sure, that's how it works. I love when people tell me about my financial situations if they have any fucking clue about any of them at all. Maybe that roof over my head might be like my parents' house or something like that, but I guess I love it. Like this is the realm of, we're in the age where like millennials end up and Zoomers or whatever end up living with their parents till they're like 30 and stuff like that. And people like they shit on it, but it's like, dude, housing's fucking expensive. Trust me. I own 2 of them. Jesus Christ. They're fucking brutal to pay for. And the whole problem with it is like, I don't know how people afford anything anymore. I really don't. Most of the stuff that I bought that's important to me, I bought a while back. And I get some fun luxury stuff here and there, but like the basics. I don't even know what my house is worth now versus when I bought it. It's quite a bit more. I know that my old house that I lived in for over a decade, it's worth almost double of when I bought it. And it's crazy. So dude, like you can go ahead and make all your assumptions about my financial situation all you want. That's fine. I don't care. You don't know. I talked to the guy who like says some dopey 3L posted my grandfather's will on Twitter a long time ago. And a bunch of people were like dancing around and saying, oh, there's the evidence, the searing evidence of the trust fund. Like one guy, he was a Florida estate lawyer. He fucking hates me, by the way. Fucking hates me. He's like, hey, guys, actually, if you read that, like lawyers, if you actually read the provision that you're talking about, it doesn't say what you're saying. Like it doesn't actually say much of anything. It's kind of a standard provision for kind of a catch-all. It doesn't mean there's anything in there. And they fucking excoriate him like, hey, thanks for trying to be honest with these guys, but they don't want to hear honesty. No one ever wants to hear honesty out of any of this shit. But, you know, I mean, come up with your theories. It doesn't matter to me. I do what I do to provide for my family, and it's great. I always have, and I always will. If that means sucking dick behind a Wendy's, I'm going to suck dick behind a Wendy's. And there's not even a Wendy's in this town, so my commute's going to be brutal. I have to suck 2 more for gas out and back. Fuck you guys. You learn to do this as a father and a husband. You just have to make enough money. You just fucking have to. And so you find the way. You cut spending, you cut whatever, and you increase income however you can. Yeah, you got. Okay, please tell me more about what I have to back me up. That'll be great. And when you get there and figure out what the amount is, can you please tell someone to send it to me? That'd be awesome. Sounds like you chose Wendy's for a reason. Look, I don't want to jerk off anybody I know. That's my main thing. Like, please give me the dignity of not having to look the person in the eyes tomorrow. Andrew Sun says, you could easily say I paid for my house with my own money if it were true. Andrew Sun, I paid for my house with my own money. There you go. Did that help you? Will you sleep better at night? Like, yeah, it's mine. Does that make you feel better? People are so fucking weird on the internet. You're like, no, that's going to be the response, right? Like, no, he didn't. Okay. Arclight Redux says, technically his dead grandfather's money is Nick's money. I didn't get a single penny when my grandfather died. Again, much chatter on Twitter about how much like the trust fund created. It was a residuary trust. Let me just explain this. So when you have an estate, you're passing on to somebody, you create something called a residuary estate, which is where anything goes that isn't otherwise accounted for. And so there's a trust set up, a trust. It's not even set up. It's created at the time of death by the will instrument itself, which can manage the affairs of a residuary. So you create a residuary trust to manage the trust estate. Residuary trust collects all the money that's not accounted for That because like if you make a will in, let's say, 1996, right? Make a will in 96, you die in 1999. There's 3 years of activity that may not be accounted for in the writing of the will. So though anything that you have happen there, like say you win the lottery, you sell off a bunch of cars or something, you buy some art at an auction that gets very famous and you sell it. I don't know, whatever you get in those ensuing 3 years might not be accounted for in the will that you wrote. You weren't planning to die, but then you kick off. So you have your death. You have this gap between when you wrote the will, when you didn't. You have a residuary estate. Everybody does. Even people who die intestate, that means without a will, not Lance Armstrong. Even people who die without a will, they have a residuary estate also, because your estate is dealt with by the laws of the state if you don't have a will. And then you may still have a residuary of anything that's not accounted for by that. And then that is distributed in a specific way. So in this case, a residuary estate is anything that's not accounted for in the will is controlled by a trust. It's distributed out. You know what wasn't accounted for in the will of my grandfather when he died? Nothing. There's $0 in the residuary trust. Nothing. It didn't go to me. Or by the way, it was like me and 13 other people. You know, and the amount that was in there was zero because the will accounted for all of the assets that were available. So people are like, haha, he's got a trust. It's right there in the will. That means you don't fucking understand boilerplate estate planning. Residuary trusts are not new. They're not novel. They're not unique. They're not rare. They're not anything. Anyone with an appreciable estate has a residuary trust to manage the funds that happen to fall into it. That's a fine thing. There's an entity that's created, the trust that exists and survives the death of the grantor. All cool. And then trustees, which have a succession that can be laid out in the trust rather than going through the state's rules of succession, which can be way longer. If you create a residuary trust, it's faster than fucking probating the residuary estate. After you've already probated the primary estate, probating an estate that's over $50 can take years and years and years of court fights, especially if anyone contests it. So you create all of these rules. You create trust to manage everything. You create a residuary trust to manage anything that wasn't managed by the other trust. And you have it go out. Residuary trust that was split by me and I think 12 or 13 other grandchildren or great-grandchildren or whatever. $0 in it. Thanks. You researched it well. Cool. Go get it. Have fun. I got $0 from my grandfather's death. You know what's the worst part of my grandfather's death? One of the men my grandfather respected the most was his uncle, who convinced him to go to college because my grandfather's father was a dairy farmer. Grandfather's brother, I believe, was still a dairy farmer. My grandfather was not farming material. He was a very smart man. He became a chemical engineer. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. He knew too much about everything. The person he respected most was his uncle, who convinced him to go to college. He went to Rice University when Rice University was a whites-only school that was full scholarship. You had to be a smart enough white to get in for Mr. Rice to determine that you got a scholarship. But Rice used to be a whites-only school, and no white men had to pay for tuition there. And I say whites only, white men only. Women didn't get to go there because women distract you from your studies. My grandfather went to Rice, but it was on the recommendation of his uncle, who he respected was a lawyer. When I told my grandfather I wanted to go to law school, it was about the most proud moment of his life. For me, at least in regards to me. I mean, he was probably more proud of an Applebee's server somewhere else or whatever. But for me, it was. And the actual most proud moment I remember of my grandfather's life. And by the time it happened, he had survived this rare cancer, caused him to have a severe sodium depression. He basically got dementia. He got brain damage from the sodium deficiency that happened during one of the treatments. The doctors didn't know. So they beat the cancer, but it damaged his mind. And this man's mind was everything about, like, he was so fucking smart. And I remember talking to him afterwards, and it was hard to do because he'd start telling you about one thing and it would just transition into something unrelated, but there's like a word that linked them. You can see how his brain got there, and you could watch him just be fucking frustrated because he knew what he was talking about. One time, so he's an engineer, and like an amateur physicist. He was talking about Saturn's rings, right? And there was something about like the banding of the rings, and the word band, while he was talking to me, morphed into him talking about what is it called? Lap band surgery, laparoscopic banding surgery of the stomach for fatsos, right? Where they tie like a leather, well, not leather, probably some sort of synthetic material band around a stomach and just bind it down rather than chopping it off like most fatsos need. They do the banding. And so he was talking about Saturn's rings. He was talking about like kind of discovery of them. And it shifted in mid sentence to the lap band surgery discussion. And watched him do it. We're at the hospital when he did it. I could see his face like cringe into consternation as he knew he wasn't talking about biology. He was talking about astrophysics. He's so fucking mad. I could see it on him. I was like, God damn it. Is watching someone whose mind is everything deteriorate to where their mind doesn't work the way they want it to, and yet they know, like, they're conscious of it, is hard, man. So this is after that, because he got sick, I think, while I was in law school. But he lived long enough to come to my graduation. He was there, man. He was lucid for it. He's proud. It was cool. People shit talk my grandfather and like, oh, why am I so rich or whatever? Yeah, fuck you. I don't care. Like, he didn't leave me any money. He didn't leave me anything. I didn't need anything. He gave me everything in those 2 moments. He's like, oh, Nick's got money from his grandfather. I didn't want money from my grandfather. Those 2 moments. I called him on the phone, told him I was going to law school. And when he was there at my graduation, he was lucid for an hour. Fuck you. Try and take that away. You can't. Nobody can. Not the IRS, not you, not anybody else. Do you want to talk about my cool trust fund or whatever? Oh, you got money when his grandfather died? Keep telling me how much money I got. It's great. I'll let you keep speculating. Because at the end of the day, I know the answer. You never will. And you'll be jealous, even though it's 0. Because you got nothing from the people you respected. Cheers. He left my dad money. My dad wasn't his kid. That's weird. He left us a heart hospital. Yeah. Yeah. My grandparents were really, really keen on giving as much money back to other people before they died. They wanted their legacy to be one of charity. Why do you think I go to charitable events and give money to them? Like, I learned from better people than me how to deal with money. Money's a fleeting thing. People who don't have it will never understand. You might have it one day, you might not the next day. But if you've never had it, you want to understand that it could be gone tomorrow. Give it away. Make somebody else's life better. Oh my God, they opened a heart hospital. Wow. Yeah, they did. That's cool. They didn't have to. I think it was the largest non-corporate gift in Texas history to a medical institution. Awesome. I guess all of that money could have gone to kids and grandkids, and it didn't. They also have a foundation that I work on from time to time as a board member. All that money could have gone to somebody in our family, and it didn't. It goes somewhere else. People keep talking about all this money that exists. Like, yeah, they gave it away. And they should. It's theirs. They wanted to build a legacy of giving and charity. People are so fucking broken. They're like, these people have money. They must just... If you met my grandparents, you'd realize just how goddamn Catholic they were. They were all about helping other people. Because God wanted them to, man. It's amazing. I hope you have people in your life that teach you those lessons, but I know a lot of people don't. I'm sorry. I rambled on too long with this. But hey, it's important to talk about some of this stuff sometimes. I don't know. Probably not. It'll never make anybody happy, but it's not about making people happy. No one will ever be satisfied when you have something that they want. Andrew Sutton says your grandfather would be so proud of you drunkenly lusting after a man impersonating a woman. Probably find that pretty fucking funny. Because even that, like, guys, do you know how, like, I hope all of you have a connection to prior generations who don't remember life like this. They remember life like it used to be. Like, I hope you do. I hope you have grandparents like mine. They're fucking great. They're so funny. They loved life. They loved experiences. They loved people. And if you're out there like, "Ooh, they love," you don't get it. It's cool.